So the second model that you're going to do is called the operation game. This was developed in Houston by Dr. Duncan. The whole point of this model is to teach you targeting with the endoscope using torque. So to do this, we're going to use the operation game, but unlike the operation game that you played as a child, the goal is actually to touch the metal and create the buzz. When you touch the metal, you have to be in proper orientation. Proper orientation means the caricature is on the bottom of the screen and the metal circle is above you. The caricature has to be within the hash lines of the smiley face. If it's not within the hash lines of the smiley face, you have to back up and reacquire the target. Errors in this particular game include touching anything other than the metal ring regardless of orientation. So if you touch the well and your orientation is perfect, that's an error. If you touch the board and your orientation isn't perfect, that's an error with the biopsy forceps. If you touch the metal ring and you're not in the proper orientation, that's an error. Another error is touching the board with the metallic portion of the forceps still inside the endoscope. The reason that's an error is because the metal portion of the forceps, if you were to deploy energy at that point in time, can actually damage the endoscope. Finally, if you touch the board and there's a black line on the forceps exposed, regardless of orientation, that is also an error. In this game, you must continue until you properly acquire the target before you move on to the next target. There are 6 targets. You will have to orient the scope, advance the forceps, and touch the metal ring in order to buzz the buzzer. The targets have to be acquired in numerical order. They're numbered on the board 1 through 6. Proper orientation is achieved when the caricature is at 6 o'clock and the metal ring is at 12 o'clock. Additionally, the caricature has to be within the hash marks of the curved line. The curved line can be on, above, or below the caricature. That doesn't matter. Once proper orientation has been achieved, you can advance the biopsy forceps to touch the metal. One of the reasons that there's black hash marks on the biopsy forceps is that you have to be close enough to the target in order to extend your biopsy forceps and not see the black mark on the biopsy forceps. Just note that as you go through this, the orientation of the numbers on the board are going to help you orient the way in which you go. So if the 2 is upside down, there's a pretty good chance that you need to move your body left or right to achieve proper torque in order to acquire that target. When you acquire targets, you have to acquire it cleanly. You can't drag the forceps across the board to do it. You must acquire the target, extend the forceps, touch the metal ring, and then withdraw the forceps. Of note, touching the board with the endoscope without the biopsy forceps extended, so if you just rub the board with the endoscope, that is not an error. Alright, let me show you how to do this. So this is your biopsy forceps. You can see that it has the metal portion. This is the metal portion that cannot be inside the endoscope. It's got a portion of blue. As long as this is exposed, that's a correct touch. If the black line is exposed when you touch the board, that's considered an error. It's going to go inside the instrument channel, which is this port right here. Before you start, you want to make sure that the biopsy forceps is hooked up to the operation game, and you want to thread the biopsy forceps completely inside the working channel of the endoscope till it just comes to the very tip. So there you can see the biopsy forceps on the screen. You withdraw it till you can't see it anymore, and then you're ready to insert your endoscope inside the tubing. So when you insert this into the tubing, you may have to navigate just a little bit to get through the tubing. You should not need any lubricant to get through the tubing. So something that you can do to help yourself in this is to turn from side to side. So you can watch the screen, and you see my hands are in neutral position. Now if I turn, the whole screen turns with me. And you can see I can get a significant amount of torque just by turning my body. And in the other direction, similar thing. So you turn, you can still see the screen, you can still see the frog, but the orientation's different. This is important for biopsying. Sometimes you need to come at it at certain angles because of your instruments. Remember that your instrument will always come out at about 5:30 on the screen. So if you need to approach a polyp or something like that, applying torque is important. It's also going to be important for loop reduction. So let's go over number 2 and number 3, that's the smiley face and the grapes. I find that these are the 2 hardest targets for me to acquire. So we'll try turning left first. All right, we've lost the smiley face, we're going to reacquire it over here. All right, and we see that it's in proper orientation. We're going to come in a little bit. And there, we have proper orientation, and I'm close enough to extend the biopsy forceps and acquire the target. Now when I turn in the other direction for number 3, I'm going to back up again, I'm going to turn, and I'm going to come back in for the grapes. And I overcorrected, so I'm going to come back a little bit to neutral and push in. You'll notice that the view's a little bit skewed, but you can see the caricature, you can see the ring, and now you can extend your biopsy forceps to touch the metal ring. So time will start as soon as you can no longer see the tubing. The target acquisition order is frog, smiley, grapes, toilet, bell, and worm. However, remember that each of the targets will have a number on it. You do need to go in numerical order on this model. So time will start when you can no longer see the tubing and you advance the scope. You find your first target, you put it between the hash lines, and then advance until you hear the buzzer ring. And then go find your second target. So the smiley face right now is not in proper orientation because the caricature, the smiley face, is at 3 o'clock and the round circle is at 9 o'clock. The caricature must be at 6 o'clock and the round circle must be at 12 o'clock. In order to achieve proper conformation, I have to torque the scope, which means that I have to turn my body. And you can see that I've lost visualization. So I'm going to back up. I'm going to look for the smiley face again. And I'm going to come back in on it. You see that there's going to be some distance here. So the smiley face appears a little small. That's all right. I think that I'm probably too far, but I'm going to try and acquire the target. Right now I'm not between the hash lines. And that's a properly acquired target. So I withdraw the biopsy forceps and I go for number 3. Again, it's easier to withdraw, turn your body, and then re-enter. Look for your target, and we're looking for the grapes right now. And again, this is not proper orientation. So I'm going to pull out, reorient my body the other way, and reintroduce the endoscope. So you can see that there's the number 3, it's in proper orientation. It's a bit skewed, but the caricature is between the hash lines of the smiley face. The circle is at 12 o'clock, the caricature is at 6 o'clock. I need to get close enough so that the black line of my biopsy forceps won't be poking out when I acquire the target. And that's a properly acquired target. We're going to move on to number 4. Number 4 is the toilet bowl. I'm going to reorient. I'm going to come in so I'm close enough to my target, put it between the hash lines, and that's a properly acquired target. Withdraw, look for number 5, which is the bell, orient properly, come in. Properly acquired target. And then number 6, turn my body, orient, push in. Again, you can see this one's a little bit skewed. And that's the end of the model.